Hi everyone, welcome to Art. We have some fun planned for today. It is Earth Day tomorrow, so I'm saying Happy Earth Day. We're going to have a little fun. We're going to be building some clay today. So I hope you have all of your supplies that you need. You should have 2 cups of flour, 1 cup of salt, 1 cup of water, and a bowl and a spoon to mix it up. So if you haven't got those things, go grab them now if you can. And you will also need, I forgot to put this on the post, you will need a pair of scissors and a paper towel to work on so that your clay does not get stuck to the table. Okay, we're going to give everybody a few more minutes to join us. So just take your time and we'll see you back here in just a moment. All right, looks like we have 8 kiddos. We'll give everybody another minute. Make sure you have a paper towel and a pair of scissors to go along with your clay ingredients. All right, kiddos, let's get started. I hope you all enjoyed your spring break last week. I know mine. We had a lot of fun working in our yard. It was so beautiful. The sun was shining. Flowers were blooming. Birds were singing. It was fantastic, felt like summer. I hope you guys enjoyed some fun too. All right, I'm going to ask you to get your bowl. We're going to put our flour in the bowl, 2 cups. Okay, and you are going to take your salt, 1 cup of salt. That's going to get mixed in too. Okay, take your spoon, stir that up, get it all nice and mixed. All right, now we are going to take our water, but please don't pour all of your water in at once. It will make your flour, your clay just a little too sticky to work with, is what I found when I made it yesterday. So we're just gonna add a little bit at a time because we don't want it to be too sticky. If it is too sticky, you can always get a little bit of extra flour and we can use that to put on our table and we can knead it. That means kind of work it out until we get it the right consistency. Okay, so we're just gonna add a little bit at a time. Okay, I think I added about maybe half. Stir it up. Should stir pretty good. Okay, I'm going to need a little bit more. I still have a little bit left in the bottom. I'm going to stir that up. Okay, it's still a little bit dry, so I'm going to add a little bit more water here. Okay, maybe we will need all the water today. I'm not sure. Let's just add a little bit more. Okay, now I'm going to scrape my spoon off. And this is where it gets pretty fun, you guys. You get to take your hands and get them a little bit dirty. So now we're going to squish all that water into that clay and really work it in. Okay, so sometimes it helps if you stand up because you can use your hand to get a little bit higher, gives you a little more momentum. Do you see how that water is now soaking into all that flour and salt? So it's good we didn't use it all. If you use it all, don't worry, your clay will probably just be a little bit stickier. Okay, you're going to kind of push that. It takes a little bit of work. It's going to be hard for your little hands. Don't worry, just keep working at it. Okay, if it feels like it's too dry and it's falling apart, then you can add just a little more water. So what I like to do at this point is poke my fingers down in there, and then I can take that water and just drizzle it in just a little bit at a time. Don't need too much. And then you're going to kind of fold it over and push it down. Okay. okay? Now, some of you might have a little bit of troubles with this, so we're going to take it out of the bowl and we're going to put it on our tabletop. And we're going to just push the heels of our hands, that's this part right here, and just keep turning the clay and folding it and pushing it and turning it and folding it, and just keep pushing it, kind of like you were making bread. Okay, and you can just kind of rub all those extra little bits in there, and we're just going to keep working it for a little bit. And the great thing about this kind of clay, it's not like the clay that we have at school, right? That's our clay that once it's dry, it gets kind of cracky and can be pretty fragile, so we have to cook it in the kiln, and then it gets really hard. What's nice about this clay is it can air dry, but you can also put it in your oven. And when you put it in your oven, it turns super hard, so it doesn't break. Okay, so I have my clay pretty much done. Do you see how it's kind of breaking when I pull on it like that? That means it needs a little bit more water. Can you see that? See how it's kind of breaking when I pull it? So I'm going to add a little bit more. Remember, you push your fingertips in. Add a little bit more. Oop, that squished on my table. Now, it might start sticking to your table. Don't worry, this will all wash off. Just going to keep kneading it. Get all that water worked in. Scoop up that other table water. All right, how are we doing? You guys managing okay? All right, your fingers are gonna get a little dirty. That's okay. I'm gonna give you a little bit of time to catch up, and I'm gonna show you what we're gonna be making today. Now, the great thing about this clay is you can stick it in your refrigerator and it'll last in there for a couple weeks. So about 2 weeks. If you wrap it up in a plastic bag, like a Ziploc bag, you can do that. And it'll be fresh and ready to be used whenever you are ready to use it for the next 2 weeks. So you can have a whole bunch of time to make lots of projects. Now, if you've noticed, I've cut mine into 2 pieces. So to do that, all I did was one big piece like this, and then I just kind of squeezed it in the middle using my fingers. It's a little bit easier because my fingers are a little bit bigger, but if you're having troubles, butter knife, and you can just cut it in half like that. So I've got 2 pieces. I'm going to set that aside. I'm going to let you guys catch up. All right. And while you're catching up, I'm going to show you the project that we're working on today. Since tomorrow is Earth Day, I thought it would be pretty cool if we could make ourselves a little earth pencil holder to hold our art supplies, our art tools. Now, right now, I tried something the other day when I made it to see how it went. And what I did was I put a bunch of food coloring in my dough, and I thought it would turn it nice and blue. But it actually didn't, and it stained my hands. And I used almost my whole bottle of food coloring, my blue food coloring, to make this blue, and it really didn't turn out very blue. But I did learn a trick. So if you have time and you want to try this again, also use Jello, the colored Jello. You can mix it into your dough, and it will turn it into a really nice bright color. So this one I did was green. This is the lime flavor Jello, and it turned my clay green, which is really nice, bright, pretty color, and it also smells good. So that was kind of fun. You can make another batch of this, and you can make a whole bunch of different colors, and you can use it just like you would Play-Doh. And then you can cook it in the oven and have a whole bunch of projects to be working on during the week when you want some free time. And I know how much you guys love to do clay, so I hope you guys will have some fun. So what we're going to do first is we're going to take, we are not going to dye our color, we're going to use paints. Once your project is all done, you can use some paints. Watercolors work really nice, acrylics work really great, and then I think you'll get the color that you're looking for. If you have time and you want to try this again, or if you want to take the second half and try it with Jell-O if you have it later on, you can do that with your mom and dad's help and make sure that they're okay with that, okay? All right, but for today, we're not going to use the food coloring. We're not going to change the color of our clay. We are just going to form it in a ball. Okay, so you guys are going to take your hands and you're going to just shape that. See how I have my hand kind of cupped like that? You're going to take both hands and cup them together and just turn your dough until you get a nice smooth ball. Sometimes you can roll it on the table too, and that will also help you get a nice smooth ball. Okay. All right, so I have my nice smooth ball. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my paper towel and I'm going to put this on my table. Now when we're at school and when we've worked with clay before, we've always used a canvas on our table because we don't want the dough that we're working on to get stuck on the tabletop. I don't have any canvas and I'm pretty sure you guys are at home too. So we're going to just use a towel today. And because our clay is nice and dry, it's not going to go back. So anytime you're building or making anything with your clay, make sure you're working on top of a piece of paper towel so that it doesn't get stuck and get ruined. Okay, so now I've got my little ball. I'm going to push it down so I get a nice dome shape on top of my paper towel. All right, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to find some art tools. I have some handy. I asked you guys to bring some. If you have some, great. If not, you can just pause for now, and when you're ready and you have your art tools handy, you can run and get them now if you want. But I have a couple brushes, I have a couple pencils, marker. So you can use whatever's convenient. You could even make a little slot for your scissors if you want, okay? So you can take your scissors, and what I find you need to do is kind of stick it in and then wiggle it around, because what's going to happen when you put your tool, when you put your dome in the oven to get dried out and hard, it's going to shrink those holes a little bit, because what happens is the outside is going to dry a little bit faster and it pushes the inside dough that's still wet, and those holes become a little bit smaller. So we want to make sure that we kind of wiggle that tool inside the hole a little bit so that when it starts shrinking in the oven, it'll have enough room that when we pull it out, those tools will still fit. Okay, so I'm just going to go around. Now the other thing that I need you to remember is when you're putting your tools in, don't put them sideways, because I found when I did that the first time with my little earth paperweight, is those tools, because this isn't super hard clay, that those tools started drooping down. But when I put those tools in straight up and down, they stayed really nicely. Now my scissors are pretty heavy, so I'm going to take those out while I put the rest of my tools, my tool holes in. And don't forget, when you put them in, wiggle them around. Not so much that they're tipping over, just that they're easy to pull in and out, okay? So you go ahead, find whatever tools you think you're going to need, and just wiggle those guys around a little bit. Now I put my little earth dome paperweight in the oven yesterday, and they say to cook it for about 2 hours. I think I had mine in for about an hour and a half, and then I pulled it out. and I put my tools back in. So there was still some, because it's pretty thick, there was some soft dough still on the inside, and so I could still take my tools and push them in to make sure that those holes hadn't shrunk too much. And then I just left it overnight, and now my holes, they're not shrinking anymore, and they're going to stay just the right size for all of my tools to stay nice and upright. Okay, so I've got my 6 tools. I've got them wiggled a little bit like that. And I will slip my, look at that, we've got a nice little art tool carrier. All right, so now I'm going to ask if you guys can watch for a little bit. We're just going to slide this guy over. We still have our second piece of clay here. We'll work with that in just a moment, but I want to show you what you're going to do once you take your clay out of the oven. Oh wait, sorry, let me just write on my whiteboard here. I want you to put your clay in the oven at 250 degrees for 2 hours. Okay, so there you go. When you're watching this again with your mom and dad, you can push pause so that they know what to turn the oven on to. Okay, we're going to let that cook for a couple hours. And when it's all done, you're going to take it out, let it cool down. Don't touch it because it's going to be hot, you guys. Okay, now I've got my little earth and I'm going to use some paints to paint the earth colors. So it just so happens I have my trusty little tray, and before we got started with class, I took my water and made those little trays a little bit softer so that that paint comes nice and soft. Now, I know that you guys don't have your paints right now, but that's okay, you're not going to need them. I'm just going to show you really quickly what you can do. Now, I know not everybody has acrylics. If you do have acrylics, you could use these. They'll go on and they'll last a little more permanently, but watercolors will work just fine too. And when you're all done your piece, if you want to cover it with Mod Podge to keep it nice and shiny and safe, you can do that, totally can do that. Now, I also printed off, well, it's kind of a cartoon version of the earth because I didn't want to get too worried about the details. I just want to give the suggestion of the earth because I'm going to have my tools in there. So it doesn't have to be a perfect painting. I'm just going to kind of copy it. You can see I've got blue where the ocean is. I'm just going to cover that in. So I know you guys can't do this right now, so I'm just going to do a really quick job so that you know what to do once you get your clay out of the oven, okay? And it doesn't have to look perfect, it just has to be the suggestion of water and the earth, okay? Don't get too stressed out about it. Everybody sees a little blue and a little green, they'll know that you are painting the earth. Okay, so almost done with the blue. How are we doing? Do we have any questions? Let me just have a quick peek here. Great. Mrs. Drewer has put up all our instructions on the Q&A, so you guys can check that again when you go back to watch it on the video. Thank you, Mrs. Drewer. She is such a great help and a good friend. Okay, I'm almost done. Let's see. Maybe a little more blue up here. I quite like the texture of the watercolor on top of this salt dough. Okay, while you guys are watching me paint, you can take your extra clay and you can make whatever you want. You can make a pinch pot. let me show you guys what I was working on while you were waiting for me to finish my painting. I made a little green pinch pot, and that was out with my Jello dyed clay. I made a little kitty cat. I made a little Yoda. Look at that little baby Yoda. I'm going to take some black little balls and I'm going to put those in his eyes so it looks a little more like him. That little baby Yoda is just the cutest little thing. And then I'm hoping you guys can help me out because for next week, I wanted to do a project about being at home, kind of like we're all stuck here for the coronavirus and what's happening. And I wanted to do something that we could kind of remember about this time because it's pretty historic and it's never happened before. So I thought it'd be really cool if we could do something that helps us remember and it helps us think positive about all of these experiences that we had. So I made a little, I don't know if you can see that with the light. I made a little house. Can you see that? I started with a little block square, and I'll show you how to do this after. But you can play around with it while you're waiting for me. And then I just added some little window details and door details, and then some little lines on the roof. Now, I know it's not the perfect house, but that's okay. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be a suggestion of that shape. And then next week, we're going to paint them, these little houses, to look like a little village. I also took some little circles, little balls, and squashed them down, and I'll show you what we'll do with those after too. But just have some fun while you're waiting for me to paint and make some shapes. You can try whatever you want. You can make yourself some little animals, celebrate Earth and all the little animals that live on Earth. You could do a little sculpture of your family, maybe of your pet. Just have some fun and play around while you're waiting for me to finish painting this little Earth paperweight. I'm almost done. Sorry, it's taking a little while. Okay. All right, here we go. I've done the blue, so now I'm going to finish with a little green. Okay. All right, now I'm going to rinse my brush, and I've got my green waiting for me. Now with the green, you can do a couple different colors of green if you want to show the different heights of the land masses. So I also have a brighter green over here on this palette. It's just a little bit lighter. Or you can also take a darker green. You can mix your palettes and have a little bit of a darker green too to show maybe like some trees or mountains, whatever you want. I don't know if you can see that. Can you see what I'm doing there? A little bit of color mixing. Okay, I'm almost done here, kiddos. Thanks for being patient. I hope you're having fun playing with your clay. I hope you were able to make your clay. I hope it wasn't too hard or frustrating for you. And if it is frustrating, you guys, don't get discouraged. If you have any older brothers and sisters, I'm sure they would be happy to make some clay with you and help you with that. In fact, I'm going to ask my first graders and second graders to see if they want to try a little clay too. All right, so I'm almost done. Here we go. All right. Ta-da! There we go. That's my little Earth. Now, if you want to go back and do your little Earth better, how I've done mine, that's okay. I feel a little pressure to try and get it painted as quick as I can. You guys can take your time when you're doing it tomorrow or the next day or whenever you have some time to work on it. And you can do a better job. If you want, you can also take a little bit of white. I don't know if I have any white here. You can take a little bit of white and you could add a little bit of cloud details over top of your earth too. Just for a little interest. All right, there's my little Earth Day celebration. It's gonna be my little paperweight and it's gonna hold all my art tools on my desk. Look at that. Ha-cha-cha. Woohoo. Put all my little tools in there. I didn't make a spot for my scissors, so I'm a little sad about that. But I do have another one that's drying right now. And I'm gonna pop that in the oven as soon as we're done our class. And then I'll have a spot for my scissors as well. So there we go. My little Earth Day paperweight tool holder. I hope you like it. I hope you have some fun with it. This guy is in the wrong hole. That guy has to go there and that guy has to go there. So each one of these little pieces has its own little spot. So you just have to move them around until you find the right one. Okay, so I'm gonna move that aside. Well done. Okay, put my paints away. And then I'm gonna show you how you guys can make some of these other little creations. Okay, so I'm gonna move this one off of my paper towel and I'm gonna put him on my cookie sheet that has the parchment paper. That's gonna go into the oven pretty soon. Okay, now these guys have already cooked. So I'm gonna take them off. You can hear how nice and hard they are. Just like, not like stones, but sort of like that, I guess. These ones all still have to be cooked. So I'm gonna show you how to do those now, okay? So I'm gonna put this aside and you can have yours handy for you. I'm gonna show you how to make the little house first because I would really love if you could have a house for me for next week. We are going to be collecting little box lids. I don't know if you have any box lids, but they would be great for from chocolates or maybe a shoebox top, something like that, or even a cardboard box that has it cut down to about an inch. You can use anything like that if you have it. And if your little box is a little bit deeper, that is totally fine too, okay? We're going to be building up some layers and we're going to be making a little diorama of our house and our families, and we're going to be doing that next week. So I would like you to make me a little house if you can, so that everybody has it for next week. You are going to pinch off a little bit of clay, and I like to always start with a little ball. Okay, once I have my ball, I'm going to kind of squeeze it to make a rectangle, a three-dimensional rectangle box shape. Okay, you can see that there. Okay, it doesn't have to be perfect. And then what you're going to do is you're just going to pinch the top of that box together to make the roof line. Okay, and as you squish it, just keep flattening out your little house. Okay, so it kind of looks like a milk carton. And that's going to be our little house shape. Now, remember what I said about when you're cooking, the outside of the clay kind of dries quicker, and so it squishes the inside of the clay. And what happens is when it's cooking, because the outside is squishing the inside, it tends to push it outwards. So my suggestion for you is to make the middle part of your house a little bit recessed. Can you see that? It's hard with this light. Just kind of push your fingers into the middle of your little house shape and make it a little bit thinner than the outside edges. And that will help it when it's drying in the oven to come out a little more flat. So you can see from this one how the top part of my house kind of bubbled out a little bit. It's not too bad. It's okay. I'm okay with it. But if you push that inside down before you put it in the oven, it'll help keep it a little bit more flat. Okay, so now I've got my little house shape. We are almost out of time. And if you want, you can add some little details in here using your toothpick. You can make a little roof line just by stabbing your toothpick in. You can also use the edge of your butter knife just to flatten it out. You can see you can add any kind of details. Well, it's not very good lighting. I'm sorry, kiddos. Ooh. There, you can kind of see it that way. Whoop. All right, well, anyway, you get the idea. You can add a little door. You can add a little window. You don't have to push it all the way through. Just kind of have fun with it. And if you make a mistake, you know what you can do? You can just scrunch it up, take a little bit of water on your fingers, make your dough nice and fresh, and start over, okay? Don't stress too much. If you find that your dough is sticking a little bit too much, just take a little bit of flour on your fingers and you can rub that into your flour and rework it a little bit more. Okay, so if your dough starts getting a little bit dry, a little bit of water on your fingers will help soften it up. And if it's getting too sticky, just take a little bit more flour on your hands and you can dry it out a little bit. Anyway, I'm going to put this video up online, so I'll also add a little bit of extra stuff to show you how to make the Yoda, how to make the kitty head, and maybe a couple of other animals. So I'll have that video later today, so hopefully you guys can check it out, have some fun, and good luck. I hope you guys had fun today. I sure miss your faces, and I would love to see whatever you guys end up creating on the Vidagami website, so I can see your sweet little smiling faces. I just love, love, love seeing your artwork along with you guys smiling. Anyway, hope you're doing well. I hope you guys had fun today. Good luck. Miss you. Take care.